Oh, yes. Open worlds and their details can be enthralling. They can just be so enriching that they draw you in and you get really immersed. And as I'm sure you know, Yakuza is that to a T with its virtual tourism. However, I was really thinking at how many of these Yakuza games are actually, well, Easter eggs or weird details in the open world that are either connected to the story or just some random kind of Easter egg, a little side note about the characters, huh? You see, a while back, a few weeks ago, I was playing one of my old favorite games as a kid from the PS2, that being The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. And now that I'm older, I went back through that game and found a bunch of Easter eggs, as you can see here, in its open world. The city and the desert, referencing characters such as Joe Fixit, Jarella, the Pantheon, and even Jack Kirby himself, among other Easter eggs. And that was from 2005, a game as old as the Yakuza series. So I thought if even the Hulk could have a bunch of little small details in his old open world video game, then I'm sure Yakuza has a bunch, right? So sit back, relax, and join me as I pick some of my favorite open world secret details in these games. And of course, if you already know some of these, then let me know in the comments. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, my first pick. I used to have pictures I took myself off the TV before my phone had a little storage mishap. But anyway, here's a picture showing the same thing that I found off of Gaming Details and Reddit. Shout out to the guy who posted this little screenshot. But if you go to a certain bar in the Champion District before the whole Mizuki subplot is revealed in the first Yakuza on the PS2, and keep in mind this is only on the PS2 version, well, you can find the actual fake Mizuki tending her bar, but that being Bar Paris, or Pares. And notably, this is before Kiryu even knows that the whole Mizuki thing, so he wouldn't recognize her, but it's still an interesting detail. You can actually find her, well, bartending. It's little things like that that really make you appreciate the old crunch times and development cycles of older games of that era. They still found time with a little bit of passion to add these little intricate details I really appreciate. So that's my first spot on the list. Then next, we have Yakuza 5. And I really noticed this only like a week ago. And if you go to Bar Shelik, once again in the Champion District, you can find these two comedian guys about bartending. And if you talk to them, you can ask or let them do their comedic skit, their little comedy sketch, and they'll actually do it. Now, sadly, it's not translated. I don't think it ever was, from my knowledge. Who knows what they did back in the PS3, but as it stands with the more modern translation, it's not. However, they are fully voice acted. From my understanding, they are real guys, even though I can't find much of them online. And I don't think they're the same guys from Haruka's sub-story, since I haven't played those sub-stories in a long time, but it's really nice that to find that even something in Kamurocho and a game such as Yakuza 5 still has fun, fine details to, well, stumble upon like this. And before I get to some really juicy ones, I wanted to add my other one I found in Yakuza 5. And from what I can really remember, only Susukimino has these little maps that you see right here, and their little telephone booths in the city. It adds another little detail to what used to be the main way of saving in these games, the phone booths. But as you can see, if you go to your inventory and the map, there's even a little image of how these phone booths tie into the little map collecting treasure thing, only that Saejima can do in Susukimino. I just think it's really interesting, and I only caught it this time, because I always wonder why that picture wanted me to go to that one particular phone booth, more towards the little ice park with the snowball and the giant Sapporo TV tower. As it turns out, I started walking away from it after finding the map, as you can see right here, man, and it turns out I run into some guy that happened to have the actual treasure you get for collecting one of the treasure maps, where he gives us that giant, or well, not giant, but a beer bottle that takes a while to break, and you can use it in combat. So yeah, I just stumbled upon this little bozo over here, but I can't call him a bozo. He gave me some beer, so good man, you made Santa happy. I like to think that if I was Santa, you just gotta leave like some chocolate out on a plate with some Blue Moons or Singa or even Yingling, any of those 3 beers, I would be a happy, jolly guy. So, that kind of goes for Yakuza 5. I'm pretty sure only Susukamino only has little maps of the actual city and its telephone booths. So, let's go to Yakuza 0, where I got a mild spoiler for later on in the game if you haven't played it somehow. But anyway, after one of the chapters where Kiryu is teaming up with Makoto, you get to the point after a certain character passes away, and Makoto somewhat regains her vision and manages to leave the watchful eyes of Kiryu and Nishiki from the homeless park, West Park. And I noticed on the little hut shoes that she leaves a little thank you. I think it only appears after she disappears, but it's interesting that she took a little moment to write thank you for Kiryu and Nishiki for protecting her. It's kind of a bittersweet detail that I think still carries over into Kiwami 1 as a leftover asset, but in terms of open world details in these games that actually have something that changes from the story, and that's not as explicit as, say, what happens to Little Asia in Yakuza 6, well, I think for Yakuza 0, this is a nice little detail that I've really come to appreciate, especially when you play a bunch of these games and go back and try to observe something you haven't seen in them in quite a while. Alright, let's go to a more recent title, that being The Man Who Erased His Name, where if you go to the castle, a big, vibrant, amazing nightlife locale that reminds me of Purgatory, you can actually find this giant Fukupichan statue head. And if you can just look at those damn pupils, it's following you everywhere you go. I don't know if it's from the leftover castle guards, because you beat them up in the game or something, but it's stalking you everywhere you go on that damn main street of the castle. So yeah, next time watch your back when you're on the castle, because something is really fishy. And I don't just mean being out at sea. Ugh. Alright, let's go away from giant statues watching you like all the cameras we have everywhere in the world, and let's go to a little vacation spot. A better version of hanging out at the sea. That's right, infinite wealth. Honolulu, you can go to this place called Crystal Aloha Resort. A place with a really nice pool and a unique way to get into it from the front or back. But what I really noticed only after completing the game a year later, just hanging around in Premium Adventure, is this. As you saw at the pop-up, you can actually take your entire party, every member in the game, and you can see all of them just lounging around the pool. Whether it's the nice couches, little floaties in the pool, or just hanging around the edge, or just lounging and, getting your soak on and your tan. It's amazing, and it looks even better at sunset. You can bond with all of them. Nice little decent interactions. And it's just cool. It's just plain cool, man, seeing every character hanging about. I really thought this was a nice surprise. Now, it's not the most groundbreaking one, I'd say, but I just really was surprised to find this after putting over 150 hours into the game and just goofing around a year later for all the DLC, and I just happened to find this. Now, I don't think it's part of the Big Wave DLC or the Big Swell DLC, since it's already part of the map, but I do think that it's just a nice detail since you have to talk to a bellhopper off to the side of the building. It's not someone at the actual reception. But yet, I just think it's a really unique detail. It's cool letting old man Kiryu finally relax a little bit, talk to some of his buddies, and it's just cool, you get to be Ichiban. It's a break from having to be at either of the bars in the game. You can just hang out, enjoy an actual part of Hawaii, the sunset, the vibes, the locale, the tiki torches, everything. And you can even just play music on your CD and hang around and let every character heal and get a chance to rest. And I just really admire that. Especially for such a big departure in the series and having a city in America. It's really cool and it makes you wonder what Pirate Yakuza is gonna do with its version of Honolulu. Sure, I've seen some of the previews, but I can't wait to play that game. And it might be a little while, a little hot minute before I play. Ooh, look at those badankas. But yeah, I'm excited to play Pirate Yakuza, and I really am happy to visit Honolulu and a more of a traditional way of playing the Yakuza games where, beat 'em up combat and all that jazz. But yeah, that goes for my next entry, this little Crystal Aloha Resort, little interactable thing that kind of adds to that virtual tourism I've been talking about. And if you want to see another video about virtual tourism, then check out my video about Godzilla scenes in the Yakuza games. Well, really just talking about the location I've seen from those Godzilla and other tokusatsu films that have popped up in the Yakuza games, because, you know, they all take place in Japan, but it's really cool seeing that locale from a human perspective in these games. So let's go to my final spot on this list of secrets. Now, wait a minute, this one is more well known, but I just wanted to include it. I've mentioned it earlier on some other videos on the channel, just in passing and talking about like the memoirs from 8 or the memories from the character files, but I still wanted to touch upon it for a few seconds. That being the ghost from Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. Now, these are more of a bigger spoiler, but if you're clicked on this already, then you know what to expect. And yeah, I do think that these ghosts trade in being less of a spooky thing and more of a melancholy memory for Kiryu in Yakuza 6. As you saw, I used the Mine one where he's grabbing to kind of make it a little bit of a funnier thumbnail and go crazy, go balls out. But still, I wanted to include it here since it's such a unique open world secret in these games that really ties into Kamurocho. And like I said, they repurposed this mechanic for Kaito files and Kiryu's memoirs and Infinite Wealth. And as a tease for a future video, you can expect me talking about a certain triad guy who was one of these ghosts in the games and his whole idea as a secret boss storyline in the series. But nonetheless, I do think that the ghost in 6 were a cool way to look at Kamurocho in a different way. Like, even the normal daylight setting in 6 for Kamurocho is the mix of an afternoon, which is weird since in 6 we don't get a sunset option for Kamurocho, but we do for Unamichi, but yet the skyboxes for the daytime in Unamichi is just different for the daytime in Kamurocho. I think that kind of contributes to kind of like the orangey kind of feel that the game has at times, and I think that the ghosts are emblematic of that. They fit that kind of daydreamy feel that the game has for Kiryu, despite all the hard things he's going through. And I think that in addition to that, the ghosts in 6 kind of add to the whole like trouble app system in 6, where you get to look at the environment in a different way that we still haven't really had in the Dragon Engine, where you get to pick up fire extinguishers that put out fire and all of that, among other things such as little UFOs you can activate in the map. And 6 is full of wonderful little secrets. But I think that kind of wraps up this quick little video to tide us over for my next video that's coming out. It's going to be a big ranking about a certain minigame in the series for February. But nonetheless, I've been Tiger Drop Films. Let me know if you've already seen some of these open world secrets, or if some of them were a bit more obscure. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and maybe look at your surroundings in a different way like we do in these Yakuza games. I'll see you in the next one. Tiger Drop Films out.